The future. A concept that seems so far out of reach, but in reality is just a blink away. In 1985, a franchise changed the perception of reality so much that we're still talking about it today. The acting, the production, the writing, the car, the movies themselves. What made this wonderfully strange adventure so lovable almost 40 years in the future? Who Popped Your Culture Episode 2, Back to the Future.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Let us flick the bean of nostalgia.
Like the bean. What a line. Welcome back to Who Popped Your Culture, Episode 2. This month we're covering one of the greatest, and I say that with all of my heart, meaningful. It is one of the most perfect movies in cinema history. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would.
The first thing I really wanted to talk about was how it is like, and I mean, they say it in documentaries about, this movie and this trilogy a lot, is, that it is a perfect movie. But the amount of shopping they had to do with the script blows my fucking mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, like how could they possibly say no to this? Like, how could anybody worth their salary in that goddamn town say no to this movie? And then you just look at every other decision that like 90% of the decisions that they've made before and after this movie, and you're like, oh wait, that's right, because they're all a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah,
like they're like, like, what is this too risky? Is this movie too risky?
Well, that's the thing, is, when it was getting shot, I forget which studio told them, or Bob Gale, I guess I should say, in Zemeckis, they told them they should take it to fucking Disney. When there's an incestual undertone in part of this movie. Like, so yeah. They say, this is a Disney movie, and Disney says, we can't do this.
Yeah.
So I don't, that's just something that's always blown my mind about this movie. And I gotta say, this was probably, as a kid, this was one of my first favorite movies.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, the second one was my favorite.
See,
for sure.
That's a good discussion. That's a good topic. Yeah. 1 versus 2. 2 is cool because you get part of 1 in the movie, which is wild how they did it.
Yep.
Even. And I don't know what it is about 2 that I've just never had a connection to. It's not that I don't like it. I like the movie just fine. Mm-hmm. But I love part 1. 3 is okay. But part 1 is just, I mean, like, it's just so fucking good. Yeah. It's such an odd concept. And I say that, but it really wasn't. It's just how they did it. Like, one of the best lines in the movie is, you made a time machine out of a DeLorean.
Yeah. It's the execution.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, the reason the movie is as good as it is because of the execution.
Right.
Like every like the, from the inception, the script writing, and then the way that they actually shot it.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, like I think, like, I find it strange how much time I spend in normal life thinking about what would have happened if this movie actually came out with what's his nuts? Eric Idle. Is it not Eric Idle?
Eric Stoltz?
Eric Stoltz. Eric Idle. That would have been a different movie.
That would have been wild.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz. Especially when you find, like, he starts, like, getting real deep, like trying to get, like, real method into who's Marty Mcfly, like, and adding all this, like, darkness to it, and it's just like, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, this is a movie about time travel.
This is about, like, this is a comedy of errors, Like, look, I mean, that's it. That's the whole movie. It's a comedy of errors. It's like
Yeah.
fucking. It's like, going back in time, fucking everything up, and then having to fix it all. Before being wiped from existence.
Right.
Like that. I mean, I suppose you could probably slather on some darkness to that aspect of it. If he doesn't get his parents to fall in love, he's gonna just
He's
cease
fucked.
to exist.
He just disappears. I think it's crazy, talking about Eric Stoltz. They shot so much of the film. Like, I think it was 60% of the movie was done.
Something
think
like
is
that, yeah.
is what they said.
Like more than half, definitely.
Because originally they wanted Michael J. Fox, and he couldn't do it because of family ties. Well, then they finally, the production crew at Family Ties, or who, the director, whatever, the studio, was it ABC, I
think so. Yeah.
I want to say ABC. They finally gave in and said, okay, we'll give you Michael J. Fox. So then they completely reshoot everything. And it's wild to me and he had to shoot Family Ties during the day, and they could only film Back to the Future at night. But switching cost them an extra $4 million. But the movie, I mean, surprisingly, they only had a budget of 19 million, which, I mean, like you said, the way it's shot, it's pretty fucking perfect. And to do what they did in 1980, I guess 84 when they filmed it, on that amount of money, and the way the product that came out of it just fucking blows my mind.
I don't think it was that they wanted Michael. Like, I know they wanted him. I know they wanted Michael J. Fox, but I don't think it was because they finally got Michael J. Fox that they did the reshoots.
It's because they just didn't want Eric Stoltz.
Like, it was very, like, pretty clear, and like by all the from the Back in Time and fucking the movies that made us and shit like that. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Like that
just wasn't working out.
That the relationship between Bob Zemeckis and Stoltz was strained, to put it nicely. And it just, like it's funny to me. It amuses me to no end that they were just like, I hate working with this guy so much that I will remake this whole fucking movie so that he doesn't, so he's not in it. Our
movie is basically over halfway done, and we're just gonna, it's not working out for us, kid. Like somebody, I don't think that could happen today. You either get your guy or you don't. No,
definitely not today. Today, you do like, you work with what you get.
Right. Like, and if you want a particular actor that could be costly, you got to pay the money. Or it's they are so overwhelmed by the script, they'll take a pay cut. And that's happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you think about it, like, they're major actors that do indie movies.
Oh yeah. Oh, it happens all the time. Like you're like, and it's generally your more integrity having actors that are just like, I need to make this movie.
Right.
And then, then their agent gets on the line and they're just like, all right, this is how much it's going to cost. And, the fucking, the producer of the movie's just like, that's more than we have for this entire movie. And then, at which point the actor will be like, go fuck yourself, agent.
I want to do this.
I want to do this movie. I don't need that much money to do this movie. I'll do it for scale. And that's generally what happens. And it's like, I'll do it for scale. And they'll make fucking like pennies on the dollar compared to what they usually make, and then fucking do it. It's a passion project.
The entire cast was already in place. They filmed most of the movie with Eric Stoltz. They decided, nah, this doesn't work. But nobody else was ever recast. I mean, it was almost perfect from Jump Street.
Absolutely. Like that was, and that was the thing. I was just going to say in response to that is they didn't need to. Everybody else is perfect.
Yeah.
And from, for all intents and except for, I mean, Crispin Glover was perfect, but he was also difficult.
Yeah. And he's he's something.
He's a fucking wackadoo.
Yeah. I find much joy in finding interviews that he's done. He's very outspoken about, I mean, they have to, like, everything. I mean, for the most part, it's tough to get, like, it's not, I shouldn't say it's tough to get it, but like a lot of stuff is more like they'll use the Back to the Future 2 logo just because he gets a cut of the original logo.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah. So like usually like if you go to like a Walmart or Target or something and like you look at like the Hot Wheels cars,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, if it's a DeLorean and if it's like one of the movie ones,
Yeah.
it'll say Back to the Future 2.
Huh.
And I think
That's,
to go back to what we were talking about before, I think that's my problem with 2 is because it's so obvious even then as a kid that it's not Crispin Glover in 2.
right.
Not that they didn't do a good job with what they could do to make him look like
Yeah.
him, but it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
Something always seemed off. And it's
Yeah.
because, this guy's got a shit ton of makeup on his face to look like Crispin Glover.
I knew that, but I forgot that.
Yeah. It's
Like,
so
I
fucking
forgot
weird,
about
dude.
that. And I've watched them all so many times that like, especially the first 2 bleed together a lot. Obviously, I know the future stuff is in 2, but
Right.
I just kind of I feel like I just automatically like where all the stuff from 1955 in part 2, I just kind of insert part 1.
Right. Well, in a way, I mean,
I overlap the 2, so yeah, I don't have a like in that, and the makeup that they did on the actor for George McFly in 2 like is good enough for me to imagine that he's Crispin Glover.
if you look at it, the grand scheme of the whole trilogy, I mean, it is kind of one movie because 1 ends, 2 picks up, reshot with Elizabeth Shue in that role, and it's, I mean, it takes off where 1 ends, and then 2 and 3 were filmed back to back, so it's a flowing,
Yeah.
you know.
You need to think of like just imagine like how tired Marty McFly is. Like it goes directly from 1. He spends what a week
Gets home
in 1955. Gets home and he like
travels through time.
Barely, travels through time, barely gets a night's rest.
Says hello.
Says hello to his parents,
who are now rich. He
Right.
left, they were middle class. His dad's working for fucking Biff.
Right.
He comes home from 1955, literally overnight. He gets 1 night.
Yeah. And then Doc
Marty
Brown's
got
back.
3 hours of sleep. Says hello to his rich parents, and Biff's out
Right.
waxing the car.
Yeah. And because, actually, that's it. Because he goes back in time. He goes back in time. It comes like whatever.
I've
Gets
never
back to
thought of
1985.
that.
Gets back to 1985, and he gets there a little earlier. But what is it like 1 o'clock, like one and change
It's
that he goes and meets
1:30
him.
in the
So
morning.
when he gets back gets home after the thing with Doc, after he fucking he gets back to the beginning of the movie essentially.
Yeah.
So he probably wakes up at fucking like 6:30 in the
How
morning or
much
whatever
cocaine
because
is
it's a
Doc
school day.
Brown on that he's not just tired? He's old. He's
Yeah.
an old fucking man.
He was an old man in 55.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that they never talk about it.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
like I love it when he fucking pulls like in the second one when he pulls the old age makeup off.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Like he
It's
just
like,
takes
what?
fucking like
He just
but like
looked-
and
and
then,
Christopher
so he
Lloyd,
goes-
you were old in Taxi, dude.
right. And then so he gets home, gets like maybe 5 hours of sleep, probably less,
Same clothes.
same clothes. And then he goes to the future to save his fucking asshole kids.
Yeah. Who are
And then
assholes.
when he gets back
loses
again,
his job. Find out he loses his job.
Yeah. And
Via
then he's
Zoom.
gotta, and then he's got
apparently, or
to go
Skype.
immediately to the fucking Old West. Like it's like it's nonstop.
I mean, it's an adventure, I guess, but
I mean, yeah, but it's still that's one of the things that fucking it dawns on me every time I start watching these movies. Like he goes like
I've never
first
thought
night,
of that ever.
Yeah, from that first night, he doesn't stop until he gets back at the end of part 3. It's just like boom, 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 like fucking the hits keep coming. It's fucking
It's a Billy Joel set list. We're playing nothing but the hits. Oh my God. No, I've honestly swear to God, I've never thought of it that way. And you blew my fucking mind. Just
fucking, it's exhausting.
I'm gonna watch. I watched one again this morning for the 4,000th time. Kind of in and out of a nap, and yeah, I just next time I watch it now, I'm just gonna be like, just rest your weary head, Marty Mcfly.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be a song. I think
he's just going like nuts.
I think that would be a really good punk song. Rest your weary head, Marty McFly. Or ska, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we get our good buddy Rex to sell that to Real Big Fish.
There you go.
Rest your weary head, Marty McFly. Oh my God, that just fucking killed me. How have I never thought of it that way?
And I'm sitting here and I've got the IMDb page up because I forgot most of these people's names.
It happens,
right? But I think I must have looked up Tom Wilson's name like a million times.
You know he does stand up now.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's hilarious.
Yeah. He's got, I can't remember the name of the song that he does.
Yeah.
His song is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But remember, we talked about when we started kind of doing our research, by which I mean we started watching these movies again after the last episode. I still don't I look at Claudia Wells and I'm just like, why the fuck did they recast her? She's
gorgeous.
She's a stone cold fox.
And the amount of money they made from the first one, it's like, what? Like, was it that she wanted more money?
Give it to her.
Yeah.
You're gonna make money hand over fist on the second one just based on the success of the first one.
Right. But I don't think her being recast for Elizabeth Shue is, I mean, it's noticeable. Obviously, you can tell it's two different girls.
Right.
But for some reason, it didn't bother me as much as the other actor in Crispin Glover's face. But I think it's because I knew it was a different guy, but he was playing Crispin Glover playing George McFly.
Yeah.
That feels like to me, I mean, I guess money talks and bullshit walks, honestly. You're getting paid. But as an actor, I mean, you still kind of, well, I mean, I guess that kind of gives him a little bit of credibility. Like, I'm literally playing another actor playing this part.
And I'm looking at her filmography.
Who's that? Claudia Wells?
Yeah. And the only thing I can think is that they were
much after Back to the Future.
I don't think so. Well, actually, I mean, she worked until 2020.
Really?
A movie called Bottle Monster. Then
that sounds like a fucking hit.
Yeah. I mean, most of these have
direct to video written all over them.
Yeah, DTV or made for TV.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I never realized she was in anything else. I could see her in a Lifetime movie, probably.
And that's probably what the majority of her work consisted of.
Starring Meredith Baxter Birney and Claudia
one of the things,
Wells.
at the top, the known for section, it's Back to the Future, what is it?
The Game?
The Game, and back to the 2015 future, which I don't know what that is.
That must be like a fan film or something.
Probably. And in the middle of it is CBS School Break Special. So she's like PSAs. So the only thing
after school specials.
Yeah. The only thing I can think is that they probably wanted someone who was a little more of a vet, like a grizzled young vet.
Yeah.
Actor.
Yeah, because Elizabeth Shue had already done Karate Kid by this point.
And I think that had a lot to do with it.
The success of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
America's love affair with Elizabeth Shue.
And this Adventures in Babysitting.
Right.
And
I was gonna say
all that stuff.
Does 2 predate Adventures in Babysitting? I feel like they're
the 2 came out in 89.
Right? Oh fuck it. Well, it was late because 3 comes out in 90, 91.
Yeah, 90 or 91, I think.
So yeah, Adventures in Babysitting came out 87?
I think I've got IMDb up.
So yeah, she's hot at this point because she came off Karate Kid, and then she does Adventures in Babysitting, which what did Adventures in Babysitting do at the box office? I don't know if it was a hit necessarily at the box office, but that movie had to have made a fucking ass ton in fucking rentals. Yeah, June 19th, 87. Yep. Did 34 million at the box office. Not too bad. Holy shit. I was today years old. Deborah Hill of Halloween fame produced this movie. Adventures in Babysitting.
That I didn't know.
I literally just found that out. I want to see what the budget was compared to what they made. I wouldn't think that would be a very pricey movie.
Certainly not 34 million. Like, I mean, they didn't make movies that expensive.
No.
Like maybe like giant fucking epic.
Claudia Wells probably wanted more money because she knew the success of the first one.
7 million.
That's it?
7 million estimated
versus 34?
Yeah, with a 34.3.
And that's box office. That's just theater. That's a theater run. That's not rentals, which I know I probably rented this movie, or Adventures of Babysitting. I probably rented that movie 15 times.
Yep. But yeah, so that's the only thing I could think of is the only real reason, like not even the money, because I think if as long as the ask was not absolutely absurd, I don't see any reason why they don't bring her back.
And you know, I can't see her like being like, I want as much as MJF, you know, or I want as much as Christopher Lloyd or even Leah Thompson. Like, you're not going to get that much money.
She's not pulling a Terrence Howard.
No. So one was made on 19 million, made 388.8 million.
Yep. Two
was made on 40 million, double it, and made $332.5 million. Not a drastic drop at all.
No.
I mean, those two movies alone were just fucking smash fucking success. All right, now might as well do 3 while we're here. How in the fuck? Okay. Oh, well, I didn't take into account Batman came out in 89 too, because it says it was the third highest grossing film of 89.
Yeah.
And obviously Batman fucking smashed that shit. 3 also on a $40 million budget, so kept the budget, and they were filmed back to back, which still that's crazy. So Marty McFly really was tired between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
$40 million, $246 million. So a little bit of a drop, 100 mil from the first one, but still, it's not like a drop like we saw with Turtles from 1 to 3.
No.
Like, so I mean, they were still making money. They could have easily done a 4th one, but they, like, I've watched interviews with Bob Gale. He's like, we just didn't know where else to take it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, I don't know, it like it's a good concept.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those things where it's I find a lot of the times like an improvement in technology sometimes doesn't lend itself to whatever, any kind of project, really. Like, I mean, like, I'm a big fan of low budget horror.
Yeah.
And action, like, and a lot like
it's just fun.
I like schlock. I really like schlock movies. I really do. I appreciate the art of that. And the more the technology advances and the less, like, the cheaper it gets, you're obviously going to use whatever you have at your disposal when you're making these cheap movies. And then, like, you get to these, certain, like, just get really bad special effects, or like when things are too, like, high definition, really, like, it shows too much. You can't hide things as well.
It really does.
And like I don't know, I feel like it was almost just like too clean. Like the part 3 was like, I think that was its biggest problem, it was just too clean.
It looked like a movie of today. It didn't look like he was in the Old West.
No. Yeah, and it was like, I mean, I know it was, and it's, you know, one of the funny parts about that movie is the Doc Brown getting him fucking all done up like Roy Rogers.
I mean, I don't hate 3. I don't.
No, it's like, it's not.
It's a fun movie.
I don't think 3 is bad. I just think it is. It's just, it's a hard. That was a, you know, 1 and 2 is a hard act to follow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like 1 is perfect.
Right.
1 is absolutely perfect. 2, you know, 2 was perfect at what it was, like, at its intention was to make essentially sell toys.
Yeah.
You know, like they, like, you know, there's no way that they didn't start, like, I mean, you got the Mattel placement with the hoverboard. You know what I mean? Like you get all of it. You get the Cafe 80s and fucking product placement all over the place.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that they did not, like, that it didn't dawn on them the amount of merchandising they were going to be able to accomplish with the second movie. And I think, and to the point I was making earlier with how the second one was my favorite when I was a kid, and I think that's why, because I had like all of these auxiliary ways to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember very clearly I had Micro Machines, Back to the Future 2 play sets. You know, and it was,
I remember those.
Yeah. And it's fucking flying around with or you know, pretending to fly around in a fucking DeLorean the size of my thumbnail. You know, like it was super cool. And then, you know, then it was, once I got there, you know, now 1 is clearly my favorite. Like, it's just, there's no contest at all.
No,
it's too perfect. Like,
too perfect.
When we were doing the Turtles, and I was talking about the neutrinos when we were doing our top 10 list, and how like that was my house. Like, it was growing up my house was, you know, kind of like growing up in the 50s. Or like the early 60s. You know, we had that was the music that was playing. My dad had the 57 Bel Air, and like and not to mention my neighborhood was like, I mean, I know, when did Wonder Years took place in the 60s, right?
Yes, because he's a Jets fan, so that would have been the time of Namath.
Right.
So late 60s, yeah. Because it's around like Woodstock, because his sister's a hippie-ish chick, right. And yeah.
So yeah,
Vietnam War, all that shit's going. Yeah.
So I know when 1 takes place in 55, but like, yeah, my neighborhood kind of had a very Wonder Years-ish like feel to it, the way that everybody, you know, like the way that the houses were laid out, the way everybody played in the street, and all that stuff. So it was like it all kind of worked together, and it was like that aspect of the nostalgia that the fucking first movie tickles is like is on full display in part 1.
Yeah.
I'm straight up, I like the 50s more than I like any other, or pretty much any other decade.
I agree.
The 70s
honestly
being a close second.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing too, and anybody that knows me knows that I was an Elvis impersonator for over a decade, and you know, I've always been a big fan of, you know, 50s just culture, music, everything. It just everything had a cool fucking logo, or, you know, like you always, like, even in Back to the Future, you know, live in the future now and all that, you know, that kind of shit to me was so cool. And like, you see ads in like old magazines from the 50s. It's like you can now have the kitchen of the future, whatever, you know, shit like that. Just, it's like, and all this fucking shit started happening. Like, TVs started being more prominent in households around this time. But to your effect, what I say about the Elvis thing is 70s Elvis is my Elvis.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been one to be, you know, the 50s teeny bopper. Not that it wasn't fucking awesome. He was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know, like that time I was like, I always thought like Jerry Lee Lewis was kind of cooler in the 50s, even though, you know, he's weird, but
yeah,
his music was fucking badass, dude. It was so good. And it wasn't what Elvis was doing then. So, I mean, I'm with you. The 50s, just the culture and families were weird. Like, You know, she talks about in Back to the Future, Leah Thompson. She talks about how towards the beginning, talking about when Jen calls Marty McFly and she's like, I can't believe this girl's calling boys, and I never sat in a parked car with boys. And then, you know, obviously when he goes back to see his mom, she's smoking a fucking cig and, you know, getting a little bottle of fucking hooch or flask of hooch, and she's trying to, you think this is the first time I've ever parked with a boy?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. It's so fucking great.
Yeah. Like, it's perfect.
But it's like, fucking great. Like, it's so funny.
It's funny to me. Like, I think about like the, you know, watching the first one, and it had been a while, like way more than I thought. Like, I'd watched like the documentaries and shit like that without watching the movies. A lot, I guess. Fucking in the last few years.
Well, I mean, think about it. How many times did we watch these movies as fucking kids and even as adults?
Yeah.
Like, you can only watch it so many times before you're like, okay, I need a break.
I must have, it was when the DVD box set came out. That was when my appreciation of the first movie cemented itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were the same way, but like when I was like in high school and just out of high school, like I'd put the same fucking movie on every night when I was going to bed.
Yeah. We watched Dazed and Confused. Like, me and my friend Michael basically lived with me like for 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, we would watch Dazed and Confused every fucking night.
Yeah, man.
I'm not going to say what we partook in, but
rightfully so. Like, that's that, and you know, to the point about the 70s, like that was Dazed and Confused is what made the 70s.
Soundtrack was great.
Yeah.
Couldn't beat it. Speaking of soundtracks, Back to the Future, fucking Songbird of Our Generation, Huey Lewis. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Power of Love is a fucking banger to this day.
And that was another, like, that was of all the, and probably because he would have fit well into like the early 60s music scene. Like it would.
Oh yeah, dude.
It would have been a pretty smooth transition.
He's so bluesy and soulful, dude. It's just fucking. Pisses me off to think about it.
He was the Huey Lewis and the News was my dad's favorite band of the 80s.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Muda.
Yeah, when Back to the Future came out, like, you know, like my dad was a fan just because like he thought it was hilarious. Like, I mean, and then it was a great cameo.
Yeah.
The Huey Lewis cameo in the first one.
You guys are just too loud.
Yeah, just too darn loud. My dad,
and they're playing his
got a
song.
Real kick out of it. Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah. My dad got a real kick out of that. And then like Power Love, and then Back in Time. Jesus Christ. Huey Lewis and the News. Fuck, man.
Underrated fucking band. Underrated, underappreciated. That is one that when I was a bartender and I'd get off after working, you know, 50 hours in 3 days. And I'd be off for a few days. Saturday nights were always me and Amanda's night to just get fucking hammered. And I can't tell you how many Saturday nights we spent predominantly listening to fucking Huey Lewis.
That's amazing.
I mean, it's just great. So fucking good. And he had, I mean, and not to steer too much away from the movie, but at that time, sports had just came out. There's a sports poster in Marty's room. And he's one, I mean, Huey Lewis and the News was one of the biggest fucking bands in the world at that time. I mean, they were playing fucking major fucking arenas.
Oh, yeah.
And selling out.
Man, they get shit on.
Dude.
Like the counterculture hated them so much.
Yeah.
Like they were
ahead of their time, is what they were.
They were the modern, they were like the modern rock boomer band.
Yeah.
Like it was because they were safe. They were safe for like, you know, like
everybody
in the era of you know, hair metal and punk and, you know, like even like the goth and the new wave shit. Like they're just like, oh, fucking Huey Lewis. I'm just like, you can't hate this shit.
Yeah, and
you're a liar.
Sports came out at the same time as Born in the USA, so you're not getting political. You know, you're keeping it straightforward, bluesy, soulful rock. Very. I always compare Huey Lewis and the News to Hall & Oates. It's safe.
Yeah.
You can play that in the car with your grandparents in the car.
Yep.
And you don't have to change the station because it's clean.
Yeah.
but it's good.
Yeah, man.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking good.
It really is. Like,
And
I mean, like,
and I have to mention this because it, like I said, it kills me. But Huey's last tour, he came to fucking Branson, Missouri, of all places. 45 minutes down the fucking road from me. And I had to work and I couldn't fucking go. And then not 3 months later, it comes out that he can't do it anymore because of his hearing.
that sucks.
And I was like, I looked at Amanda when I read it, and I was just like, I'm never gonna get to see Huey Lewis in the fucking news.
It's brutal, man.
Ugh, fucking hate it. And that's one of the reasons why I need those Billy Joel tickets.
Yeah, and then Jesus Christ.
But I mean, I mean, you can put. I love Prince, and Purple Rain came out around the same time. I wish somebody would tell me that Power of Love is not as good of a song as Purple Rain. Different tempos, obviously different, kinds of songs, but tell me that that's not as good of a song. I'm not saying it's better,
no,
but as good or close to. Purple Rain's a perfect fucking song
for what they are. I feel like they're both like on par.
It's classic,
like at the same level of like, oh man, it just.
And you can, and I use those, like I said, they came out at the same time. But as soon as one of those songs come on, 9 out of 10 people know the fucking song.
Yeah.
That opening synth, beep, beep, what it is. Or Purple Rain, that guitar with, just, oh my God. They don't make them like they used to. That's the whole point of this fucking show.
Yeah. No, it's you're 100% correct there.
Shout out to Huey Lewis.
Fucking A. Big shout out to Huey Lewis. Fucking when we were getting ready to do this, I know that this franchise is important. And as we were doing it, I was kind of like, or like as we were getting ready to, like when we decided that February was going to be Back to the Future.
We went very safe the first 2 episodes.
For sure.
I wonder how many YouTubers are going to do Back to the Future episodes now.
If we are like this like weird, like not trendsetter, but like if we start getting, if this keeps happening, so I have not seen so many fucking Ninja Turtles episodes of anything as I did 3 weeks after we posted ours.
Yeah.
Or
it was wild. And you see their views compared to ours.
Well, yeah. That's what happens when you get an
we're starting up.
Like, we're brand new. We're new on the block. But I don't even know how to say it really, but I was just like, I'm like, all right, can we really, like, how deep can we get with Back to the Future? Like, I mean, we could talk about all the technical stuff or whatever, but when you actually start to break it down, like this thing was just, it was like a hit machine.
Yeah.
Like with fucking Michael J. Fox was already a megastar because of
Family Ties.
And then like Christopher Lloyd was already a fucking big star, but like then you got Crispin Glover fucking strapped a rocket to his ass. Because I think the only thing he'd done before that was Friday the 13th Part 4.
Yeah, sounds about right. Maybe some kind of like teeny bopper kind of movie.
Yeah, but he wasn't really
like
anybody.
Ski School or something.
Yeah. And like Tom Wilson, same thing. Like it strapped a rocket to the asses of all these people.
And I feel like
the Huey Lewis songs that are involved. Like I don't like it's so entrenched in the history, in like my own personal history, that it's just like but you really itemize the movie, and it absolutely 100% deserves its place in history.
Yeah.
And it's all of its accolades. You know what I mean? Like, God damn, like I watching these again, I always love when I see Christopher Lloyd's face.
Yeah.
Like whenever he pops up, especially if I don't know he's in a movie,
And
I
his
get
hair.
I get.
No, yeah. No, dude,
like,
I flipped out when he was in Suburban Commando with Uncle Terry.
Yeah, his fucking performance in the Back to the Future, especially in the first two, definitely the first one. Oh my god,
nobody else could have done that part.
No, like the way he.
And I know you can say hindsight and all that shit, but there's no fucking way.
Like, because nobody's capable of.
I like the able better.
Nobody's able. Nobody's capable of just being that fucking adorable and absolutely fucking insane, like he does. Like in the same thing with when he did Uncle Fester.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like when you look at Doc Brown and you put Doc Brown next to Uncle Fester, you're like, how is this the same person?
Yeah,
like Christopher Lloyd was he was a genius.
I remember when Addams Family came out, going, how is Doc Brown going to be Uncle fucking Fester?
Yeah. And he
pulled it off.
and I didn't really never really know, or I didn't really notice at the time, but like watching the two of them, like we watched Addams Family a lot here. But he does that.
Shout out to Raul Julia.
Yeah, he does that. Like he does that same run as Doc Brown as he does like the Uncle Fester run.
Yeah,
that kind of like weird. Like he runs like a cartoon
run.
hillbilly. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Yeah. Fucking like knees up and outside. It's like just this weird. Like
he runs like a cartoon fucking hillbilly.
Am I wrong?
No,
like, that's how they always. Yes,
so
just that
great.
Weird like stomp run that they always have him do.
That's
right
twice you've got me legit fucking pops. You popped my culture.
His delivery is sincere as Doc Brown, and it's fucking like, but it doesn't make it any less hilarious.
Yeah,
like, when he's waiting for Marty. And he just keeps pacing back and forth, and he takes a couple of steps, looks at his watch, and goes, "Damn!" Turns around, takes a couple of steps, look at his watch, "Damn!" Again, damn! like I don't. I mean, again, it's the execution of these movies that make them like to just make them absolutely perfect, especially the first.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't.
What
every
is,
time
I'm just thinking of lines now.
Yeah.
Why don't what does Biff say? Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here or something?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
Like, what the fuck? Like he was such a moron, but it was such a great character.
Yep.
Like
and Tom Wilson nailed it.
Yeah. You hate him so much that you love him. You can't help it. He's a fucking goofball.
Fuck. Every time like you like you log on to Twitter and you've got your trending, and like too often I see Christopher Lloyd trending on Twitter, and I'm just like no. And it like, and a lot of the times it's like it's just like a clickbait trick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you click on it, and you're like, oh god, and it's literally a tweet that says Christopher Lloyd is alive and well. And like, thank God, but also fuck you.
Yeah,
like
that's what happened with Betty White with me.
Yeah.
It happened too much, and it's like the boy who cried wolf. Yeah. And then when it finally happened, I was like, oh my fucking God! Like I felt like my world came crashing down.
Yeah, that
was a rough one. But yeah, Christopher Lloyd, that's another one. That was a big part of a lot of people's childhood, because I grew up watching fucking Taxi reruns, and him and fucking Danny DeVito and Andy Kaufman, like it don't get much better than that, folks. Like it just do not. Starting to lose my voice because I was laughing so fucking hard. Oh shit, you fucking killed me, dude. I haven't legit laughed that fucking hard. I don't know, since last night, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that was that. I was gonna say that was me last night.
Woo, fuck. That was good. I'm tired. It's Marty McFly. Oh my God. Let's tie up some loose ends here, because God forbid we get it all done in one sitting.
Yeah, I'm like, well, we don't. Maybe one day we'll decide to tackle something that we can handle in a single sitting.
That's true.
Like we keep covering Well, we've done 2
Right.
franchises.
But it feels like we've done so much more than 2 because of the amount of sessions we've had to do it in.
Right. And considering that we're only releasing 1 episode a month, like I feel like, I feel an obligation to like provide some substantial, like, I don't know, something to justify why it takes us a month to put out an episode.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You can't put out a 20-minute episode once a month and call it good. Which I mean, that works for that. That works for some, people on YouTube and stuff. But also, this is something that always bothers me, and I'm going to say it on here because I feel like this is a good platform to do it. The amount of content creators that go off of a script just fucking cracks me up. Like, and the fact that you can see them reading it 9 times out of 10, it just blows my mind. Like, I mean, and I guess I'm guilty because I watch it. I continue to watch stuff like that, even though I completely disagree with the thought of having a script for a podcast or a YouTube show, because we've said that we want this to be a show.
Right.
But I'll never understand it. Like, I feel like a podcast and even on YouTube, because I still consider it a podcast. I guess some people call it a vodcast, but it's supposed to be spontaneous. It's supposed to feel like a conversation.
That's what I was just going to say. It's supposed to be a conversation. It's not supposed to
you can't have a scripted conversation. You can't script a conversation. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. That's something that you can tell is fake, and there's no passion put in it. Right. You know what I mean?
Now, mind you, a show can be a show. Like, you can, it's just a different thing.
Right.
Like, you're certainly not going to sell me on the idea that a podcast is like a scripted conversation is a podcast. That's like it's essentially like a news show or the fucking
some kind of documentary almost.
Like not even, because a lot of the videos that I watch myself are video essays.
Mm-hmm.
So what they write their script in the form of an essay, and then they deliver it, and then they edit it with like video graphics and stuff like that. And like, that's a different thing. But yeah, you're not going to sell me on a scripted podcast.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like. And if it's I think the term has gotten broad, because I listened to a podcast called Old Gods of Appalachia.
I've never heard of any podcasts other than the ones I've done.
And it's not a conversation. It's not a talk. It's a narrative series about
like a docudrama, like the old like radio programs they used to put
kinda
out. Yeah,
like it's a story. It's
a serial
interlace. Yeah, more than anything.
Yeah.
And it is technically considered a podcast because it is a pre-recorded digital audio. You know what I mean?
But see, that's different. That's it's not really a conversation show. I don't know, but in the same turn, talking heads, that we're talking heads, and a lot of that shit is scripted. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather not so much like, because I edit these.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, for the most part, since, I got really into like trying to be kind of serious about doing podcasts, have edited them. Like at first I just kind of threw them out there and like, let's see if I get away with this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It aggravates me. And like what you were saying, like the video essays, like I get that. And most of the time, the ones I watch, like the ones you describe, they're not a visual presence. They're just reading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. I'm fine with those. It's the ones like where they're like sitting here like this and they're scripted. That bothers me.
Yeah, no, I could understand that, and I would agree with it.
And
like if you're promoting your shit as specifically as like something like a conversation, something like we do, and then it's all scripted, at which like it's, I don't know, then it's not genuine. And I would defy anyone who does that to like come off legit. Like, you got to be a pretty goddamn good actor to take a scripted conversation and then promote it or convey that it's authentic.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you probably shouldn't be doing a fucking podcast.
There's certain things like that I've seen or heard that I'll get so like panties in a wad about it that I'll quit that product for either for good, or I'll take a break from it, or just be like, I'll dip my toe back into it, but I can't give myself like my time, my precious time, because it's precious. And people don't realize that, like, when you put work into something, you're using your time. And I don't think a lot of those people realize how precious other people's time are when they're viewing it or listening to it.
Right.
So I feel like if you're going to be authentic, be authentic. If you're going to read from a fucking script, get into Hollywood. Just my opinion. And I'm leaving that in because I liked it.
Anyways, I don't disagree.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Back to the Future. Future.
Back to the Future.
I mean, in our original recording, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head, but I know you watched part 3 yesterday, so I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to what we talked about.
Trying to remember everything we covered. Like, I mean, it's
we talked about how it's not as bad as people make it out.
No,
it's we talked about Doc putting Marty in the Roy Rogers costume, and this is
like, I think because it does get it, like, as far as quality goes, it does get progressively like worse. You know what I mean?
As far as script, yeah.
Just, I mean, overall, you know, like the but in the same respect, like, I don't know, watching it yesterday, it was probably the first time I watched part 3 in well over a decade. Yeah, honestly.
And you talked about it last time that, it was, you could tell that technology had been getting better by what they were doing and the way it was presented. It wasn't as charming as the original or even the second one.
Like, I think ultimately my biggest complaint is that it was too cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love Westerns, and I'm pretty sure you do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is definitely, like, it was definitely a Back to the Future movie. Like, there's those 3 guys that are in the saloon that are always playing cards.
Yeah.
And there's that one guy that has that, oh gee Willie, kind of like voice.
Golly, like gee Williker.
that like cartoon hillbilly voice.
Yeah.
To go along with the cartoon hillbilly dance that fucking Doc Brown does. Like, it's a underlying theme is cartoon hillbillies throughout this entire franchise.
We seem to talk about that a lot, just in general. I feel like.
But like, so yeah,
we're the cartoon hillbillies.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least. And I think really, like, I think that the biggest detractor from this movie for me is the fact that it's not like, as much as I enjoy Westerns, it's like, it's dirty, it's dusty. I like the fact that they took, like, when the whole idea that 1950s Doc Brown dressed Marty like Roy Rogers, and then when he gets back there and like Doc Brown is, like, the 80s Doc Brown is like, who the hell who dressed you that like that? You look ridiculous. Somebody's gonna like, you walk around like that, somebody's gonna shoot you,
right?
It like, I appreciated that. I appreciated that they, you know, they didn't continue that, and everybody, you know, everybody started like them normal, you know, or more or less. Even though Marty ultimately wound up dressed like a 5'3" version of Clint Eastwood in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There's something there, and there's something that I'm having a harder time expressing that's missing. Like there's like and I think it has to do with like something esoteric, like the heart and soul of a Western. It was missing because it's not a Western really. Like it borrows from Westerns, like do it like, you know, the fucking shootout.
It's a sci-fi adventure comedy.
Ultimately, it's not a bad movie. Like the amount of hate that 3 gets is the only thing that makes sense to me, is that it was because 1 and 2 were so much better than it.
Do you think it's because it's so different than the first two?
Well, possibly. You know, like you took, because so you got, I'm trying to think. All right, so the 50s and early 60s were pretty popular in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that, the rockabilly thing, and
so that was cool. You know, like, you know, taking what like and it's essentially, whether they meant to do it or not, what I'm sure a lot of people, especially, you know, Stray Cats fans and stuff like that, were like, man, what would it have been like to live in the 50s? So you take somebody out of the 80s and you slap them in the 50s, and you know, kind of see that weird juxtaposition, you know, and very ripe for the time. And pretty much at the same time as that 50s resurgence, you've got like the new wave people.
Mm-hmm.
In like that future retro, or well, I guess it's future retro now.
Yeah.
Retro futurism.
Yeah.
Where you like the 80s version of what the future was supposed to look like. And that's what you got
in 2.
Right. And then right around the time that 3 came out, you had a Western resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
But that shit wasn't nearly as popular.
No.
When you having I don't remember what year Tombstone came out, but like you like Unforgiven and Tombstone.
I want to say Tombstone was like 94.
Probably 94. So like it had not come out before, but definitely like the sentiment was there.
Right. No, I'm totally with you, because in the 80s, like Westerns weren't a thing.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to. All right, you've got Young Guns.
Tombstone was 93.
Okay, so you got Young Guns.
Young Guns 1 is 89, I believe, and Young Guns 2 is 91.
Yeah,
or 90.
So the
They're
Young
back
Guns
to back
movies. You got
Tombstone's 93. Unforgiven is definitely 94, 95.
Right, and then but it was there. All right,
right.
Like, so these hadn't come out.
Oh, 92. I was wrong. Unforgiven was first.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Holy shit.
And then you've got like, I mean, and it's personally one of my favorite Westerns, just because it mashes Westerns with a lot of the Evil Dead tropes, as Sam Raimi did The Quick and the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I remember, you know, like I hated it when I was a kid. I hated Westerns when I was a kid. They were just fucking, everything was sepia toned and boring as far as I was concerned.
I liked them because my grandfather watched them.
I hated them because my grandfather watched them. Like he would, like, all I wanted to do was watch cartoons, and he was watching Gunsmoke, you know?
Right.
Much later in life, I just grew to appreciate them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had all those, and it was all that came around right around the same time as Part 3.
Love Dances with Wolves in there too?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, I'm not excluding anything.
Yeah.
Like in Last of the Mohicans, that's a kind of a weird one.
It's a strange film.
Like, just the time period. It was all like pre-revolution, or like current at revolution. I don't remember what time that was happening. I know there was redcoats.
Well, I know there was the Last of the Mohicans.
Right. But either way, though, that kind of movie was certainly making a resurgence.
Mhm.
And then like with Young Guns especially, you've got like
John
an
Bon
honest
Jovi on the soundtrack.
exactly honest to goodness Western movie with a modern rock star
Yeah.
on the soundtrack, you know, and like
Which I
maybe
love
a little
it, but
maybe a little, you know, like a little rock and roll in the score, which
Yeah.
was certainly new, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was so I could even understand like I don't know how early on in the process, and maybe I don't remember if they mentioned it. They definitely didn't mention it during the movies that made us. I don't remember if they mentioned it during.
Did they even really
Back
mention
in
2
Time.
though?
Yeah, the movies that made us may have just been covering the first one.
I think they were just covering the first one.
So maybe in Back in Time they cover it, and I don't remember.
I don't recall. If they did, they breezed over it.
Right. So I don't know what the thought process was, because obviously, so you already went back in time to the 50s, and you went forward in time to
And back in time.
Right, yeah, forward in time, and then back in time again to 2015, and then back to 1955.
From 1985.
And knowing that it was going to be a trilogy, maybe they already knew that they were going to go back to the Old West. Like maybe it was based on the backlot locations, like that they had available to them, the Universal backlot. Be like,
maybe.
I don't know if we want to go back much further than the Old West. We've got Old West Town. Like we can just film it right over there. It's literally two streets over.
You're raising a good point, because I'm kind of curious also. Like, at what point was 3 written? Was it written at the exact same time 2 was? Because they filmed back to back. Or were they working on 3 while they were filming 2? And that's why they rushed it.
And if you remember, he's I don't remember who's watching it, but at some point in either 1 or 2, Marty's watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Or somebody's watching.
I'm thinking that's 2.
Could be.
Because I know in 1 they're watching The Honeymooners, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. I've seen this one."
Right. It would have been during
the Hervey
obviously.
kid from Wonder Years, that's Eric Bischoff's friend and partner now. But he says, "How could you see it? This is brand new."
Right.
Well,
that's in the 50s.
Yeah. And they see The Honeymooners.
Yeah, Good, Bad, and the Ugly wasn't even out yet.
And I think,
but it was during one of the 80s parts when he was in the 80s. Somebody was watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was on ATV.
Yeah,
it was on ATV at some point.
I'm trying to picture it, and I can't.
Decent foreshadowing. But what I'm getting at is whether or not they foresaw the like the Western resurgence, or they were hopping on the Western resurgence, or Bob Zemeckis was just like, I fucking love Westerns, I just want to make a Western.
Which could be why Good, Bad, the Ugly was on the TV, and then when they start writing it, they're like, boom, let's dress him like fucking Clint Eastwood.
It's too much to remember, and it's regardless of the fact that we decided to take a month to release one podcast, and I don't know this for sure. It's all coming off the cuff right now.
But that's what makes it fun. That's why I initiated this one with.
Yeah,
I find it distasteful to script something. So if we do fuck something up, I will be the first one to admit it when somebody calls me out and I see it and I'm like, you know what? You're right. Sorry, I fucked up.
Right.
But
we're only human.
Yeah.
The
I don't
even I don't know. Yeah. I was just saying it's characteristic of the time.
Yeah.
Like it was this came out along with a slew of other actually successful Western themed movies.
And that's a good point. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd never would have thought to think of it that way, honestly.
And I ultimately think as well, along with like just paired with, or they're paired, I guess. I don't know if that works in this term, because it's 3 and 3 is not a pair.
It does in this.
The people who liked the 80s Kid at a Time in the 50s, and the people who like the 80s Kid at a Time in future world are not the same people that, like, at all the same people that would be 80s kid out of time in the fucking old west. Like there's like those demographics, stray cats, 50s kids, new wave future kids, like there's an overlap there.
Yeah.
Those are two subcultures that
can easily be mixed together, easily.
Right. Like those are the club kids of the 80s.
Yeah.
Like these are, you got your new wave and your fucking and your 50s punk. Like they're playing the same dives all across the country. So there's almost it's like a guarantee. Even if they're at each other's throats, there's a guarantee that there's an overlap.
Yep.
Like when the sun goes down,
they're going to get along.
Those two circles are going to overlap, whether it's like aggressive or not. They're going to overlap. The Western people aren't going anywhere near those other two. And I think, I don't know. I think that they abandoned the fan bases, the other two fan bases. I think they were going after an entirely different fan base. And I don't think it would have been entirely appreciated at the time.
The funniest thing about everything you just said is the fact that my dad was that rockabilly fucking Stray Cats dude in the 80s that that met my mom in a country bar in Texas. I love it. But I mean, when in Rome, that's all you got when you're in Texas, especially back in the fucking 80s when George Strait was running the fucking country.
Yeah. Like generally,
I just found it. I found it funny. I was trying so hard not to laugh when you were on your tangent.
I mean, that's like
I think that's why I'm so fucked up. I'm a goopy mess of fucking worlds that weren't meant to collide.
I disagree entirely.
I love
that's like that's the American dynamic.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we are the melting pot.
Yeah.
We are the melting pot, and it shouldn't end at Ellis Island. Like, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel you.
So, like, I mean, ultimately, like, I feel like probably you were positioned like better, like culturally, because you've got your country loving mother, and then your punk loving father. Like those are two worlds that don't normally cross or mix,
and that's probably why it didn't work out.
Possibly, but like they are fundamentally two very different. Some like
chemical imbalances there, I'm sure that didn't help either.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe I'm grasping at straws to rationalize why part 3 wasn't as successful when like actual quality wise, like the quality of the production was still good.
Yeah, your
special effects are the exact same. Like as far like that weird I don't even know how to do it. Like it wasn't computer graphics, like the superimposed special effects, like the
green screen,
green screen, and like the same ones that they use
in miniatures
in Ghostbusters, like where like and how everything they're in camera special effects.
Star Wars. I mean, most of that was miniatures.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just feel I've been raging on defending a movie that probably is unfairly maligned. Like it's. I mean,
I'm with you,
because the science of the entire series is suspect.
Yeah.
So like
it's ridiculous,
right?
When you look
at it, like you said, like the idea that you forgive that anybody watching this movie would forgive all of that, and then like hold any of them to a higher standard. Like they put that panel on the hood of the DeLorean.
Yeah,
that looks like the inside of a tube amp to make up for, and it's something like they don't even really gloss over it entirely. because they in the beginning they have to replace that piece of circuitry that's this fucking big, and then next thing you know, there's this thing that takes up the majority of the hood of the DeLorean that wasn't there before, and that's what that is.
Right.
It's replacing I don't know if there's a time circuit, or I think that's what he said, the time circuit blew.
Yeah.
So they using technology from the 50s, they replaced that tiny little fucking chip that took up almost the entire hood of a DeLorean. And then they went back to the fucking Wild West and then figured out, using technology technology available out in the like dusty ass California to get back to 1985. Like, you know, like to gloss over that, to forgive that, and then I don't know, not the rest of it. Like I don't even as far as
just
everything else
shit,
goes,
it feels like people just shit on it just to shit on it. They have to find something to shit on in everything.
For sure.
That's
and
like
if you're going to shit on a movie in the Back to the Future trilogy, that's probably the one to do it. It is the last one. It's it's just a bunch of bad, either bad hair jobs, like bad fake hair jobs, like Marty's great grandfather, or great grandfather, like what is this? Seamus McFly. Those the mustache and beard on him is ridiculous. I tell you what, Tom Wilson, he looked great.
Yeah.
Like the amount that they put on him.
Yeah.
But he fucking, like, he was Mad Dog Tannen, he was perfect. He killed it.
I feel like Biff gets not enough love, because no matter the timeline in the franchise, he pretty much knocks it out of the fucking park.
Oh yeah. Like he plays 50s Biff perfectly. 80s Biff, 80s successful Biff perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
80s submissive Biff perfectly.
Cuck Biff, if you will.
Yeah.
If there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
To all of our cuck fans out there.
Griff, like Tom Wilson might be the hero of this trilogy.
He might be. We might have just unearthed something.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, Leah Thompson don't hurt either, though.
Oh God, no. Everybody else, that's her with the Irish accent in this movie. Immediately like kicked it up a couple of notches. It's been so long. And then I don't know her name off the top of my head. I saw it and I noticed it, but
Mary Steenburgen or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's
from Arkansas. That's really the only reason I know. And who hasn't aged a fucking day, by the way. She was the mom in fucking Step Brothers.
That is where I was going.
She's married to Ted Danson. So, come on.
I cannot see her as anything but the stepmother,
right?
Or the mother in
and
Step Brothers.
Like I said, like the fact that she has not fucking aged a fucking day. And I remember when Step Brothers came out, and I remember going to see it in the theater and laughing. And when she comes up on the screen, I'm like, is she old enough to be Will Ferrell's mom?
Probably only just.
Probably. I mean, maybe in actual years, but she doesn't look it.
Oh no, not at all. But yeah, she was so good in Step Brothers that I can't, like, in all of the screaming scenes, are what I hear.
Right.
Like the first fight, and she's just sitting, like, the mayhem of them fighting each other in the front yard of the house, and she's got the hose.
When they're sleepwalking,
she's hosing them off. Yeah, and the sleepwalking scenes when the father decides to wake him up because he can't take it anymore. Like, all the screaming scenes, like, it's all I hear. It's hilarious.
What was it? Her purse and the crisper and the pillows in the oven, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yep. It's just brilliant. Absolutely.
Such a good movie. Fuck.
And
there's so much shit we're gonna do down the road.
And she played Clara great.
Mm-hmm.
She did. She really did. She's a phenomenal actress.
That could be because she's, quite the Southern belle.
Could be. But like just the way her voice is, it's like perfect for it. And I don't actually no, that's it. No, so nothing. Like I don't have anything else. Like we covered the first and second one to
with a smidge of 3 in the first,
right?
And then, but I feel like we're doing a good justice to the people by really coming to the defense of the third movie.
I don't disagree at all, and I think it needed to be stated.
Yeah,
like after,
and maybe
after watching it again,
maybe us talking about it to an extent will maybe push people to go back and watch it and be like, you know what? They were right. And then they'll come back next month. Or go back and listen to the first episode. That's the great thing about this show.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep cutting you off, but I have to say this before I forget, because I will forget.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about our show, is because people might not have liked Ninja Turtles. They might not listen to that episode. People might not like Back to the Future. They might not listen to this, but there's something that eventually we're going to cover that has attached to someone so much that they will watch or listen to this show.
Yeah. I like to think that we're diverse enough in thought that we could at least pique somebody's interest.
Yeah.
To give it another watch.
Yes.
And then obviously their opinions can remain the same. Just be like, no, that guy's full of shit.
Because I feel like I did a nice justice to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I feel like that movie gets shit on for certain reasons, and I don't feel like that's necessary. It is a very good film. It's not the best in the series, but it's very watchable. And people feel like it is unwatchable, which I don't feel it is. I quite enjoyed it.
I think that's a ridiculous take.
It's not Dream Warriors, which is my favorite of the series, but
I think
it's also not Part 1. It's different. Every movie is different. Every movie should be somewhat different.
I hope you never get tired of talking about it, because we have to cover that.
Oh, we will. Yeah.
Like
I love it. Dude, when I covered it, I hadn't watched all of those movies like I did in 20 years. And I fucking loved it. I mean, I've been such a Halloween advocate that I couldn't bear myself to stray away from that franchise. But I'm glad I did, because I fucking enjoyed every minute of it. It was, I mean, Robert Englund is fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
And he's also terrifying at the same time. It's so good.
No, I had the same thing. Like, I was a Friday the 13th guy forever. No surprise.
That's my brother. My brother's the same way. He's a Friday the 13th guy.
And it took me probably a good like 10-15 years since declaring that I was a Friday the 13th guy to realize, like, oh, that's right. I could still be a Friday the 13th guy and appreciate the other ones.
Yeah.
I'd get to the point where it's like I would actively not watch movies that I enjoy because I chose a team. And it was the dumbest thing in the world.
That's like wrestling. You can't like all the promotions. You can only like one.
Yeah. And it just, oh man, so dumb.
Anyways.
But yeah, like, and it's yeah. I feel like I'm starting to ramble, so I don't know. I feel like we've done it justice. I feel like we wrapped up this series.
The best part
weird is that we could almost consider these podcasts series.
Yeah.
Because we record them it's a series of recordings, but we just post them as one.
I feel like we did a really good job, considering we didn't even talk about the fact that we were going to justify and defend Part 3. You texted me yesterday because we were supposed to actually record yesterday, but I had some stuff come up, and you said you were watching Part 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, 24 hours later, at the time of recording this, little more probably now.
Yeah.
But here we are talking about a movie. In the beginning of this, we didn't really, because when you said something about it, what about part 3? And I said, we could just kind of breeze over it or lump it in with everything.
Yeah.
And here we are spending probably the most time on any of them on the
Yeah.
one we didn't think we'd talk about at all. So, living.
Yeah, funny how that shit works.
Yeah.
I fucking never ever in my life thought I'd, like, up until yesterday, up until an hour ago, did I think that I would defend Back to the Future Part 3.
I went into this with nothing. I didn't have anything really to say.
Yeah.
Other than I was gonna punch that in and then do a closing, and we got another solid hour.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Alan Silvestri.
Shout out.
That guy, like, for real though. Okay, well, like, one more thing. Thing. Talking about the score of this movie, which is fucking amazing, absolutely fantastic. All 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, listening to, or like watching that yesterday and listening, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like, I heard like and it was a lot of more ambient stuff, but I could hear the Predator score in Back to the Future Part 3,
which is
like,
solid fucking movie.
And it was just like in the middle. It's kind of sandwiched between 2 pieces that were like independently Back to the Future, or exclusively Back to the Future. And then it was just like very similar ominous tones that Alan Silvestri used when he was doing the Predator score as well. And yeah, it was just that was the comment that I texted you, was that how interesting it is to me how that, like, I mean, you know, anybody who's ever watched a movie that was scored by Danny Elfman knows it was fucking scored by Danny Elfman. Everybody has their, same with Hans Zimmer, like everybody has their style.
John Williams.
Yep. And it never ceases to amaze me how a movie composer, like a movie score composer, can really, like,
it's just the way they do things, really, when you think about it.
Audio signature, like, they have very specific, they lean heavier on particular sections of the orchestra, and that always comes through. And I never really thought about it, and I definitely never thought about it when I was a kid. And while I was
we didn't pay attention to that really when we were kids.
But while I was always a fan of what, all the Danny Elfman movies were my favorites when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I recognized Danny Elfman's style, the earliest. That was probably the first, like, even above John Williams growing up.
Go Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Batman Returns, Batman the Animated Series,
Tales from the Crypt, all that.
Simpsons.
Yep.
Which I don't think a lot of people have ever paid attention to that or spoke on it, that he is the one that does that. At least I haven't heard.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Boingo.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Party.
I've been out of the Simpsons space for a long time, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, I just wanted to, that one quick point is that point of order or whatever is, Alan Silvestri's score for these movies was fantastic.
You can compare it to any rock band, though. I mean, you can compare it to AC/DC, for example. That's a band that you know what you're getting going into it. They're not going to give you a ballad. You're always going to get that same, almost just like one little thing's different, or like a change in the chord sequence just here and there. But it's, at the end of the day, it's all the same.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
I enjoy AC/DC from time to time.
If it ain't fixed, don't broke it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that does it for Back to the Future. It's time for us to get back to the present and live life. Patreon at some point. We'll further discuss that at a later date. That'll be something. I want to get this thing boosted up a little bit before we even fucking attempt it, though.
Sure.
So if you like it, make sure you like it and subscribe and all that YouTube bullshit that they fucking push on you, which you If you watch fucking YouTube, you know what to fucking do.
Yep.
You're not an infant. But next month, we have decided our topic will be the great films of the great America's favorite pastime, baseball.
Oh yeah, baby.
So we're talking Sandlot, Major League.
Let's see, what do I got here? Yeah,
What do you got?
Sandlot, Angels in the Outfield, Bad News Bears, Rookie of the Year, The Natural, Benchwarmers, Field of Dreams. Just baseball. And we don't have to, we're not necessarily going to touch on all of those. Those are just what I have listed.
All good films, all movies that I enjoy. Anything that has to do with baseball, I fucking enjoy it. Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck. That's a fucking banger.
Yep.
All right. So we will talk to you fucking next month.
Peace.
That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.